Thanks everybody for joining us. This is our Artemis Roads 3 Mission Advisor Support Session 1. My name is Dr. Darcy Snowden. I'm the director of NESB, and we're just here to kind of help you guys get started with the challenge, some initial stuff. There's 3 of these support sessions, and each of them go a little bit deeper in as you start the challenge and are deeper into the materials. So the subsequent sessions are designed to help you a little bit more with the individual mission objectives. This one's kind of like how to just get started and start filling out the things and what to understand about what needs to be submitted and stuff like that. So this is recorded, just so you guys know. So and we will post it on our YouTube page later, so folks that couldn't make it can review. I did want to talk a little bit about some current affairs before we get started on the grant stuff. So I had this slide up earlier, and I'm just going to kind of speak in generalities here, but I just wanted to let everybody know that NESB, if you don't know already, it's a NASA Science Activation Team, NASA Science Activation Program. It's all about basically connecting learners, so learners of all ages across the world and across the country, with what NASA does. It's the idea behind it is, right, we put a lot of funding into NASA science and engineering and technology. So NASA also wants to support actually connecting the public that funds NASA to what NASA is doing. So that's what we're all about. We're part of about 50 teams that do that. But we are a federal grant. So that means that all the things you've been seeing in the news about executive orders and funding freezes and things like that, we are affected by all of that. So it's been a fairly stressful week for us as we try to interpret these orders and make adjustments. So I just wanted to say that, I'm hoping for the best. I'm hoping that you guys don't feel that at all participating in this challenge. You don't notice any differences, but depending on what happens, we may need to make adjustments to this challenge. And maybe everything that we promised to do, we won't be able to do. So we will keep you guys updated. We're not going to alert you every little thing because, when we make decisions, we'll make them and let you guys know. But as we go through this, I ask you guys to please be kind to NESB staff and affiliates and be understanding if we need to make adjustments. And even if you're seeing stuff on our website that you think needs to be adjusted, right? We're kind of funded under one mandate, and the mandate has changed quite a bit. So we may not be perfect in how we adjust to that. So the main point is, right, this is what we were told today. We're going to continue our activities. We're going to do the best we can to, again, make it seamless for you guys. But I did want to just let you guys know that that's something that's affecting us. And I will just say, if you think that programs like this are helpful for the public and important for you and your community, you can always support us by telling representatives and people around you about that. Okay, so no more unfun stuff. Let's get started with the Mission Advisor Support Session. So lots of you guys have interacted with all of our staff here. NESB is actually bigger than this. We've got lots of partners. But in terms of what we call NESB HQ, the main staff here at Central Washington University, these are the individuals that you guys will be interacting with the most. So I just introduced myself. Deanna, I'll let you quickly introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Deanna. I am the one that's answering your emails along with Anita, who's going to come up next. If you have questions as to what the administrative answer is to a question, that's probably going to come to me. Anita, you want to go next?
Hi, I'm Anita Machina. I work with Deanna, and I'm sure you've talked to me on the phone or gotten one of my emails as well. So welcome.
And Mary?
Hi all, I'm Mary Levine. I'm a project coordinator. I work remotely out of Colorado with the Central Washington team. I primarily work on our content development and companion course and formal education. So if you have any questions about that, I'm your go-to, and usually Anita or Deanna also flag things for me if y'all have questions about that. So yeah, if you need me, let me know.
Okay. And I don't know if Deanna, did you want to have the student staff introduce themselves quickly?
I was checking to see who was here. I don't see Abby online, and our other staff was not available. So I think Abby is going to get to skate by today.
All right. So we also have, I think, 4 student staff in the office. So you may get phone calls from them or emails from them. And keep in mind, those are students. So of course, be kind to them as well. We're making them do hard stuff. We are professionally developing them. Okay, so this is the outline of what we're covering today. I won't go through it in detail, but if you come back to review these slides later, this is kind of your outline for what's in them. The first thing, I skipped that slide. Hold on. Oh gosh. Okay. Is it skipping this slide here? There we go. The first thing I wanted to show you guys is just the distribution of the teams that have signed up for the Artemis Roads Challenge. We have, I think we've got a few more teams that still need to sign up. Deanna's trying to push them through, but I think we have about 290 teams signed up across the country. So this map here is showing where all those teams are located. If you guys want, you can check out that link or use the QR code if you want to zoom in and see which teams are close to you. Of course, we're concentrated, or we're the Northwest Earth and Space Sciences pathway. So we've got most of the teams are in the Northwest, but you can see that we've got a bunch of teams in Arizona and Texas, and then we've got some teams on the East Coast as well. So we encourage you guys, if you would like, you can reach out to us and we might be able to share some information with the teams that are nearby if you would like to talk to each other. Okay. So one of the main things we would like to support you guys with in this information session is just helping you understand what resources are available to help you guys navigate the challenge with your students. We know that, especially if you're doing this for the first time, there's a lot, kind of an overwhelming amount of stuff out there. So we're trying to build in as much support as possible. So we're going to talk about where to find information online and in the manual. Okay, I'm going to start out with the manual. So the manual is something we've always done for the challenge. It's the PDF version that you can download and print and give to your students or give them a digital version. The manual is both available in both English and Spanish, okay? And so there is lots of good information in the manual. In particular, in the front part of the manual, there's information on how to complete the challenge. So definitely check this out. So here's a page from the manual. And what it has here that I want to point out to you guys is a table that has all of what we call our challenge submission checkpoints. And details. And what's in that table is details about what we actually want you to be able to submit on our website for each of these checkpoints and when they are due. All of the submissions will be completed this year through this new Roads Educator account. So you'll log into our website, you'll go to the account page. That should be the default page that loads when you push that login button. And then on the left-hand menu there will be a link to the submission form. We will also include, like we've done in the past, previews of each form. So before you fill out the form, you can actually like look through and see what kind of information you're going to need in order to complete the form. And then I just wanted to note that for each of these forms, the submission deadline is going to be 5 p.m. So we like to do that because our office, and that's 5 p.m. Pacific time, our office staff is not available after that. So if you have questions, we can't help you after that time. So again, as you're completing that form, try to look at all the information we provided to help you, but then of course you can call or email us for additional help if you need it. Okay, so more information that's in the manual, there is the schedule. Okay, so beyond those checkpoint submission things, there's also other opportunities like this mission advisor support session. So the dates for those are in the manual. But we don't have the specific times and the links. All of our events that are listed there, with the exception of the in-person events, are virtual. So you can go to our website on the events and announcement page and find those events, click on them, and then you should be able to find the link to the Zoom for each of those events. Some of the later things like the NASA expert talk in March, right? We're still figuring out the exact details of that. So if you don't see it yet, it's because we don't have all the details, but as soon as we do, we will let you know. Okay, so what to submit and when. Okay, so right, we like to kind of keep up with you as you guys are going through the challenge, and we also like to have these opportunities where you can kind of check in with us, and we can both recognize your team's work by maybe sending you something or posting on social media, but this also helps us keep track of like who's still participating. So that's why we have these midpoint checkpoints or mid-challenge checkpoints. The first one is fairly soon, February 12th, and we're calling it checkpoint 1. And really all we want you to have for this in terms of what your team needs to get together and do is their mission patch, which is mission objective 2. So they'll upload an image of their mission patch. And then this is when we're actually going to collect team member information. So the names of your team members, their age, demographic information, and then again, this is required by Central Washington University. We also need risk and release forms for each student participating, and those are going to be signed by their parent or guardian, and also for the adult mission advisor. This submission form will be available tomorrow. So if you have this stuff already, if you've been working with your teams, you can go ahead and submit as early as tomorrow. Let's see, I was going to say something else and I totally lost. Oh,
Very quickly, Darcy.
yes, go ahead,
The
Deanna.
risk and release form will be available tomorrow. It has not been published previously, so it'll be available on the webpage tomorrow for
Yes.
download.
Yes, and it's just a one-page form. What I did want to say is, if you do need to consolidate teams, or if you have fewer or more teams than you registered, this is a good opportunity to let us know so we can update your information and your profile accurately reflects the teams that you actually are helping. And this, by the way, you should also have your team name. So that's not on this slide, but the teams need to come up with their team name by then too. Okay, so that's your first checkpoint. Going into the manual itself, each mission objective in the manual has its own page, and the mission objectives are broken up into parts, and we just wanted to highlight some of the resources that are in this. There are in the mission objective page here, there's links to companion course resources. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the companion course in a bit, but that's a great place to go if you think you need help completing a mission objective. Going down here, there's additional resources. A lot of these are videos that we've created to help you complete that mission objective. Some of them are links to NASA resources. And then another thing beyond the description of what we want you to do for the mission objective, we want to point out that at the end, there's this deliverables bit. That's what we actually expect the students to put in their mission development log. So that's kind of the outcome. So make sure they're focused on that when they're doing the mission objective. They're actually addressing those deliverables or requirements. And then the last thing I'll point out, we also have these boxes with the icon, this local and cultural resources icon. Again, one thing that we think is important is making sure that the students understand why these STEM activities are important for them and their communities, and to make those connections when possible. So these are optional, but they are opportunities for you guys to bring in some of that into the mission objective. Okay. Let's switch over to the website. The website also has a lot of the same information. It's kind of like, would you rather just download the PDF and interact that way, or would you like to do it through the website? So if you go to our main page of the website, it looks quite different this year. Mary did a lot of great work on it, and so it's got a lot of good improvements, I think. But there is a link here, the first orange one, where you can actually go in and see digital or web versions of both the mission objectives, what I just showed you, and the companion course lessons. This is where you can go to download the challenge manual in English and Spanish. This is where you can find a link to all the events that we have. And if you're looking for that Zoom address at the last minute, that's where you want to go. And then this is where you can click on this big blue button now to log into your Rhodes Educator account. Okay, and then we also have this announcements button. We try to post obviously our events that are happening there, but newsletters as well. So if you missed a newsletter, you can check it out there. All right, Rhodes Educator profile form. You guys, I think if you made it this far, you're probably familiar with the form. This is new this year. This is our way of doing a little bit better job keeping track of what everybody's doing and your information, and then reflecting it back to you to make sure that what we understand is true about your teams and their status is also what you guys think is true. So one thing I just wanted to point out in this form is there is this mission status page that you can click on. And this is what we are manually updating. So it doesn't update instantly when you fill out a form. We actually have to go in and type it in there. So that's why it doesn't appear instantly. But this is where you can see things like your registration status, your supply shipment status, your mission ID number, and then details about individual teams as you provide them to us. So this table here with the team name and things like that, that will fill out obviously as you guys give us your team names. But this is also, again, where you're going to find the links for the submission forms. I did add a thing to this, the pre-challenge survey. So we are required to be evaluated. Every science activation team is evaluated by a official evaluator. And so ours is Horizon Research Inc. And one of the things they do to help us understand the impact of the challenge and its effectiveness is a pre and post student survey. These are very short surveys that are intended to be completed by the students themselves. And in order to get the impact of the challenge, it's important to administer them as quickly or as soon as you can as the students start the challenge. I know some of you guys have already started because you were maybe part of the PD and you've been doing the companion course. But as soon as you get the link for the challenge or for the survey, please provide it to the students. And again, it's pretty quick for them to complete. And then they will be asked to complete another survey that's very similar at the end of the challenge. Okay, and I'm happy to answer questions about that. And again, we are manually putting these links in your pages. So if you don't see anything there yet, it's because we just haven't got to you and added your links in there yet. Okay, and if you have questions about this, you can always contact Horizon Research Inc. and they are very responsive and will help you out. All right, so events are also on the website. Again, I just want to note this is an event, right? And so you would have found a link to this. And another thing that we do that I want to make sure you guys all know about and participate in are these NASA expert talks. This is when we bring people that work for NASA in to talk to your students. They give a short presentation and then they answer questions, which is really fun because we get a lot of really good questions because your students have been thinking about the stuff that these guys are experts in. So they're not just silly questions, they're good questions. So we just did one that you can find the recording online. That was on our YouTube page. That one was about mission patches. And our next one is going to be on February 25th. And we have a lunar geologist. So he's someone that works and is thinking about the Artemis mission and works for NASA. So that's a great opportunity. And again, when you're looking for when this is and what the link is and everything like this, go to our website. Okay. So the thing that you guys should be working on as you start the challenge is helping your students understand how to complete the mission development log. As students work, of course, it's fun just to do the activities, but we also want to teach them the importance of documenting their work and keeping track of the outcomes and being organized like a good NASA scientist or engineer has to be. So if you look at the materials, we have references to a couple of different items. We encourage all students to document their personal work in a science and engineering notebook, just kind of like a lab notebook. And this is where they can keep all of the messy details about everything that they are doing. And they can do this in any kind of format that they like, that you like. We don't really want to see this, just so you guys know. Do not turn this into us. What we want to see is a summary of that work. So that's what's going to go into the team. So one per team mission development log. And this is a tailored by us mostly record of your team's Artemis 3 mission. And it creates a concise summary of the data and other deliverables, and basically is demonstrating the fact that they met that mission objective deliverables. So this is what they turn in, and this is what we will look at, okay? The MDL, the complete final one, will be submitted at the end of the challenge. So again, mission development log, keep track of their final work, and then this is what they submit to NESB. We do have some guidelines around it, so I want to make sure you guys understand that. You want to complete, when you turn this in, you want to include slides for all of the mission development or MOs completed. So we've always said that teams, we know you guys have a lot of things on your plate, especially if you're doing this challenge for the first time. We understand you might not be able to complete all of the mission objectives. That doesn't mean we don't want to see your work. We love to see whatever your team was able to accomplish. And we have a lot of teams every year that don't complete everything, so don't feel bad about that at all. But only include the slides that are for the MOs that you guys completed. You can take out the extra ones if you didn't get done. And then you can add slides to the template. So we have a template, but we don't know exactly how many slides you guys will need to describe each MO. So feel free to add. However, when you're done, it should be less than 50 slides total. And you can go in and delete the yellow slides, which are guidance slides, helping you guys understand what to put in there. It has to be submitted as a PDF, so don't spend a lot of time with fancy animations or videos or anything like that. We often can't see links if you put in there. Like, it's very common for teams to link to Google Drives that we don't have access to. So we just kind of discourage that, or if you do it, just be really careful about that. It does have to include media release forms. I'll talk about that in a second, or how to include those. If it has pictures of student faces, back of their heads, their experiments, everything like that is fine. But if you are including pictures of the actual students, we need to have a media release form so that we know that you have permission from their parents to share their face, basically. And then must be completed by the students with the help of the mission advisor. We put that slide in there because, of course, we want to show our best work, but we don't want to see the mission advisor's best work. We really want to see the students. And we can tell, just like you guys could probably tell when the mission advisor did it and when the students did it. So it doesn't need to be perfect. We really hope that you guys are helping the students complete this, not doing it for them. Okay. So just going to show you a couple of slides here. The yellow slides, again, have directions. This is a lot on here. I'm not going to go through this today, but this has a lot of the same guidelines I just talked about, plus some additional ones. So check out the yellow slides, but do delete them before your final submission, and then that will help you meet that 50 slide rule. There is a slide in there that has links to the photo release forms, those media release forms I just talked about. So the easiest way to provide those to us is to download them, get them signed, and then just take a picture of them or upload a PDF and just put them in your MDL. So they're just pasted in there on the slide so we can see that they were completed. Every MDL should, so this is a white slide, so don't want to delete this. Please make sure to include your team name, your team number, and the mission patch image. This is how we keep track of who's the MDL we're looking at. So please do complete this title slide. That's required for everybody, no matter how many mission objectives you've completed. This is another required slide. Again, teams are not required to watch the NASA expert talks, but we like to see who went to which one. So please complete this slide and let us know who went to which talks, and provide a student reflection just so we can make sure the students were paying attention. And then for each mission objective, so this is just one example for mission objective 1. We do have some guidance about what needs to be completed for the different checkpoints and for the final submission. So again, we don't need to see this slide when you submit your final one, but there is information in here and also helpful links to help you understand what to put in the MDL. Go ahead, Deanna.
We had a question in the chat. I just want to clarify. Your MDL template that Professor Snowden is talking about is in your mission objective 1.
Oh, yes.
From the companion course. So look through.
It's also in just the mission objective as well.
Yes. So make sure you're linking to it there. Your risk and release forms will be on your educator profile page. So that's where the difference exists. One exists in the MOs itself. That's going to be your template for your MDL. Your administrative type things for your risk and release are going to be on your administrator page, on your educator page. I hope that answers that question. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Yeah, and I'm gonna turn on my light. Okay. Sun has gone down here. Okay. Yeah, and let me know if there's any other questions. But yeah, and just so you guys know, the risk and release form is required. The media release form, we really like to have that because it's just nice to know that we're not going to break any rules, but it's not required. So if you have a team that does not want to fill that out or doesn't feel comfortable, just don't put pictures of their faces and you don't have to do it.
Can we
Okay.
use the risk and release form from last year? I mean, because I've already gotten mine signed by my kids' parents and stuff. Do I need a new one for this year?
Yeah, because it has to, and again, this is our university being cautious, but it has a different, slightly different text, basically like an extra a room in number 3 instead of 2. But yeah, unfortunately, we'll need an updated one. And I apologize we didn't get that to you earlier.
And do they have to leave the green backgrounds green? Because I think my kids already changed theirs.
No. The colors can change. Yeah, the format itself can be, yeah, they can have fun and reformat it. That's fine. Yeah, and the text can change size and color and everything. Yeah. Let's
Hold on one second.
Okay.
We've got a question regarding the risk, the media profile.
Mhm.
The media release is in the MDL also, and I believe that's linked through the companion course also. So if you haven't checked out the resources on the companion course for MO1, please look there. I'm fairly certain that's where I saw the last media release. And Mary is saying both of the links are also on the MO1 webpage. Thank you, Mary. Much appreciated.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No, it's fine. Good. We can answer questions as we go. I'm trying to just whip through this a little bit. Let's see. This slide is, again, just another helpful slide that's in there that's helping you understand how to submit the final MDL. Just keep in mind right now, the submission page is not live, so don't be stressed out if you can't see it. We're going to only have one submission up at a time. So we're going to start, registration comes down, checkpoint 1 comes up, checkpoint 1 will come down, checkpoint 2. So you'll only see one submission at a time. So the final one won't be up until closer to the end of the challenge. All right. I think I just skipped 2 slides. Let's see. So you won't need to submit anything in the MDL until checkpoint 2, which is March 10th of this year. And this is not going to be a complete MDL, but at this point, we do want to see some evidence that the students have completed some aspects of the challenge. So again, you will be uploading the MDL as a PDF as evidence that students have completed mission objective 2, which of course they should have done anyways to get their mission patch completed. And then evidence that the students have started working on 3 additional MOs. That is totally up to them. The MDL can be a work in progress. We're not going to be in there grading it. We're just kind of scanning through it, making sure that they have started these things. And it still needs to be fewer than 50 slides. Okay, but that's the first time you will be expected to upload it. And go to the next one here. And then the next time will be the final submission. That is due on May 30th. Again, we're going to have that form up earlier, though. We know that everyone's got different school schedules. So if you're done earlier, of course, you can submit it earlier. And this is going to be complete versions of the MOs that they've completed. So they should, I mean, MO1 is basically the mission development log. So that one should be done. MO2 should be done. And then any additional ones that they did. In this case, it's in its final form. Again, less than 50 slides. Okay.
Very quickly, I'm
Yes.
going to please implore that everybody submit their materials over the course that we have the windows open, the submission windows open. If everybody waits until the last hour on the last day to submit, I can guarantee you we will bring down our website. We've done it before. They don't like it when we do that. So please submit things over, because we try to keep the window open for a week or longer. So please use the time wisely. We really appreciate that. And everybody behind you appreciates it also. Thank you.
Yeah. And one reason why we wanted to do the educator profile forms, maybe you guys already noticed this, is that we are able actually now to, on the back end, what we see, populate a lot of these submission forms now with information from your login and your profile. So the forms are going to get shorter. You're not going to need to re-enter your address like 8 million times. So that hopefully will make it easier for you. And actually, it might even make it easier for you to help your students upload information because they don't need to know your personal information to upload their MDL. So that's a benefit, hopefully, that you guys experience. Okay, that's the MDL. Again, some of you guys are returners. You've seen it's similar, very similar to last year. So hopefully we're familiar with that. Just briefly, I want to talk a little bit about help with completing the mission objectives. Again, we're not going to dive into this in this particular support session. There will be a bigger focus. If you look, we kind of tell you what's upcoming in the mission advisor support session. So we'll go a little bit deeper in some of the more challenging mission objectives in the later support sessions, but these are the mission objectives. We hope you guys are excited about them. We had a lot of fun creating them and thinking about them. It's always, frankly, this is probably the most fun thing that we do. It's like playing with science. But these are what they are. So again, because we're still in Artemis, they are kind of similar to some of the ones we've done in the past, but they're a little bit different. And we're thinking now, again, even more about humans living and working on the moon, and then even coming back home, back to Earth after their mission. If you feel like you need additional support, again, the first thing that we would recommend you do, and I'm gonna talk about this just a little bit more in a second, is pop into the companion course. These are lessons that look like they should be taught in a classroom, but if you're not doing that, there's still a lot of good information in there. They're a lot longer, they're a lot more complete. So even if you're not planning on teaching these lessons in the classroom, we recommend you pop in there and see what the resources are in order to help you communicate what the students need to do. And then, of course, there are the resources links on the mission objectives that I already pointed out. Like a lot of those are there to help you guys complete that mission objective. And you can contact us with your specific questions at info@NSBE, and we will get back to you. If we need to, we can also, we're not going to do office hours this year. We didn't get a lot of people joining us last year, but we can still occasionally meet with you and your students in order to help them with some specific questions related to the mission objectives. And then if you were part of the professional development, the Canvas course should still be available for you guys to go in and look at and use as a resource as well. Okay, so let's talk about the companion course. This is your best way to get a little bit of additional help or a lot of additional help with the challenge. Again, the companion course is this parallel thing that runs with the challenge. Some people do not do the challenge and they just teach these lessons in their classroom. Some people do both. Some people never look at the companion course and only do the challenge. Okay, so, but it is a resource for you. And because we're writing these as lessons for teachers, they are more formal. There's 3 units and there's 8 lessons. Each lesson is aligned to a mission objective. They are organized around the 5E instructional model, which is kind of a most modern teaching method, especially for STEM. And then they are aligned with some standards that's important if you're trying to use them in the classroom. And then each lesson does also include more information about local and cultural connections. It has grade level adaptation, so suggestions about how to make it harder or easier, depending on your students. And then career connections, which is a really great new thing that we've done this year as well that we recommend you guys take a look at. These are the guiding lights of the companion course. So again, the whole point of what Science Activation and NSBE is about is utilizing NASA resources and making connections to NASA's work. So you're going to see a lot of NASA in these lessons. And then you're not lecturing to students. It's all about hands-on activities that again are based in standards. And we try to make them, again, very clear and useful for educators. So even though they're targeted for formal education, I think that informal educators have found them useful as well. And we've gotten a lot of good feedback on these. So please take a look. And some of the things that you'll find in here that may be helpful. So here's an example. Let's say you're trying to complete mission objective 3, which is all about water on the moon and thinking about purifying water on the moon for humans. Well, the lesson associated with that is about the same things. And so in here, you can find a video summary of the lesson that's pretty short, just to get an idea about what to expect in there. There are also tutorials for certain things in the lesson. So there's a water cycle game to help introduce students to what a water cycle is in a fun way. And then there's tutorials to help you understand how to implement that game. And there's also printed and online versions of the water cycle game. So the next slide. Oh, you know what? There's not a picture of this, but again, and then there's also examples of experiments and things like that. So again, guidance to help you complete that mission objective. A big year, every year, the roving on the moon or the one with the robotics is a challenge for students and mission advisors. So definitely look at the roving on the moon lesson. This has video tutorials just to help you get started with the absolute basics of programming a robot, like how to put together the robot, how to download the software, what is these word blocks. But then it goes deeper and also provides additional tutorials to help you use the distance sensor, turn the robot, do the color sensing that the mission objective refers to. So again, take a look at those resources for help. Okay, I'll pause there for a second. I think we're good. We're almost at the end here, guys. So the last thing that we promised was we are going to show you guys the dates and locations of in-person challenge events. So we like to include in-person events as part of the challenge because we think it's important and impactful for the students. So what happens at these in-person events or what is expected of student challenge teams is described in mission objective 8A. Okay, so 8A is for people that are planning on coming to one of these events. And if you read through that, it will give you an idea about what kind of things they can showcase about their mission. All of the events are one-day events. The actual schedule is going to vary by the location, so what events you go to, but expect something that occurs between about 8 a.m. and 6:30 p.m. This is just kind of a slide helping to motivate you guys. If you happen to be close enough to one of these in-person events to go, we really encourage that you choose to go because it's really nice for the students to actually get to show off what they did, both to NESB, but also to the other challenge teams in the area. It's a great opportunity to bring students onto a college campus so they can see what that looks like and maybe even stay in the dorms or get to be in a classroom or get to see a lab or some of the resources. These events often have more NASA expert speakers, so they get to interact with a STEM professional, and we hope that they are fun. We try to make them fun. So that's a good reason to go as well. Okay, and so where and when are they? So this year we've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in-person events that we're planning. All on the western side of the country. So I'm sorry for those on the East Coast. We used to have a hub on the East Coast, but those guys, they had done it and they just needed a break this year, which is totally understandable. So here you can see the locations. We've got Idaho's weird shaped state. So we've got quite a few in Idaho. We've got one right in the middle of Washington here at Central Washington University, one in Arizona, and one in Texas. We will provide a lot more information about these events in the next Mission Advisor support session. But right now, what I can tell you is that these are the final dates, so you can write those down if you like. And you will be getting, if you register for these, the person that you will be coordinating with is the event contact that you can see on that last column. Yeah, so we hope you guys are excited about these. We're excited about, we're planning kind of what activities we're going to have for you there. Okay, unfortunately, we know those are a limited number of events. It's a big country, right? And they're geographically limited as well. So of course, you don't have to go to one of these in-person events. Oh, sorry, I'm skipping a slide here. Yes, how do you register for an in-person challenge event? So you have to tell us that you are going to come to one of these events on March 10th. So that's your deadline for deciding whether or not you want to come and talking about it with your students. You should know by then as well. Of course, we know students can change their minds about things, but try to know which students on your team are going to attend by that date as well. So we have to, the stuff we have to do logistically, housing, food, and all that, we really need to know how many people are coming and who those people are. Attendance will be exclusive to teams that are registered, which hopefully all of you guys are, but also teams that have completed both checkpoints. So the first checkpoint's pretty easy to complete. So that one, just go ahead and do it. The second one is the one you'll be registering for the event. So just plan on completing both. And we understand that team composition may change. So if in between like checkpoint 1 and checkpoint 2, the number of teams you have or the students on your teams have changed, just let us know by emailing us so we can update our records, and that helps us plan for the events. And yeah, so after you register on March 10th, or before March 10th, but after March 10th, when we have all of the registrations, that's when you will be contacted by the event coordinator with additional details. And if you've been to one of these events in the past, you might be familiar with how it's going to go. It will be similar in a lot of ways to how we've done them in the past, but just to know what to expect, during the event, there will be food provided for teams and mission advisors that will be free. If your event allows other people to come, like families or other spectators, those people should not be expected to be fed, just because with our guidelines for what we have for our federal grant, we're not allowed to feed folks that are not participants. And then travel guidance, again, this is going to vary for each event, but we try to make sure that teams that are traveling a long distance can stay overnight, because we know how challenging it can be to drive that far and have a long, hard day. So these are the guidance for travel and travel support. And again, this is going to be something that is determined by your particular hub coordinator. Okay. One thing we will do this year is we'll provide a little bit, we're trying to get the information out to you guys earlier so that you can do whatever you need to do at your schools or organizations to get permission to take students on this trip. All right, this is the slide I thought we were at. Okay, so if there's not an event near you, again, it's okay if you don't go to one of these, even if it's right next to you, you don't have to go to one of these in-person events. That's why we have mission objective 8B, and that gives you guidance for submitting the similar results of what the teams are doing at these in-person events virtually. So these are videos that students will record of their rocket launching and their robot completing the course, and they can upload that to our website. Okay, Deanna, go ahead.
All right. There's a question for
Yeah.
the dimensions for the tunnel, and I know that
Mhm.
it's in MO7.
Yep.
Isn't that the ROV? Can you
Sure.
bring up the page directly where it is? I actually don't know the actual page where it links to off the top of my head.
Sure, let's go to the website. Let's go, we'll do an interactive journey here of how I find things. So I'm here on the page. Again, you can navigate to the mission objectives just on the website if you want. And I think the roving one, I'm going to be embarrassed if I'm wrong here, but I think it's MO5. Yes. Okay, so here's the web version of Mission Objective 5. And of course, there's a description here, but if you're interested about what the challenge map is going to look like, you want to go on additional resources. And it says description and options for printing a challenge map. And this is a slide. It's an awkwardly sized slide because this is, if you choose to print a challenge map, it's the JPEG or PDF you can download. Let me go to one of these. And there's a bunch of options here just to kind of illustrate what the actual challenge is. But let me go to this one. So this is the challenge map, and there's a grid on here that is 20 centimeters by 20 centimeters. That's the size of each box. And the map itself is 100 centimeters by 150 centimeters. And the purpose of the challenge is to get the students to actually put tunnels on top of this map and have their robot, and that's probably really hard to see. Let me try to zoom in here. Oh. Let's see if I can do this smoothly. Not really. You guys are seeing too much, but hopefully that kind of makes it clear. So these are I just made these out of foam board. And so these are 20 centimeters wide. And so the tunnel ends up being this big. What I will tell you about this is I don't want to make a big challenge map, because in the past when we've had huge challenge maps, that's been problematic for educators that can't lay something like this out and just take up like half the classroom. So we're trying to keep the challenge map like a reasonable size, but 20 centimeters is pretty tight for the robot to turn the corners. So the students can't build a huge robot, which I know they like to do, and they don't need to build a huge robot to complete this. If they want though, and I wrote this in these guidelines, if you guys want to make the tunnels bigger, this course bigger, you can do that, especially if you're not coming to an in-person event. It really doesn't matter to us that it's exactly this size. If you are coming to an in-person event though, you should know that this is the map that will be there for the students to test their robot in. So if they chose to build a bigger map with bigger tunnels, they'll need to bring that with them in order to demonstrate their robot. Okay, so does that answer the question? hope-
Yes, and actually we got a second question that just popped in.
How tall?
Someone wants to know if these dimensions fit the EV3. My last check was the EV3 dimensions would work.
Yeah,
They should. That's
yeah.
the should is the magic word.
You know, I have to be honest, I did not test the EV3, but they are very similar in size.
They are, yes.
One thing I will say though, and two, especially if it's like this, if the students are bumping like the corners a little bit, it's actually not, especially if they're light, it doesn't really mess up the robot too much. So you can have a little bit of leeway if they bump the corner a little bit when the robot's turning.
Can I ask a point of
Jen,
clarification?
I'm sorry, go
Yeah.
ahead. Someone had a question. I'm sorry. Evelyn?
One of my colleagues went to a different meeting than I did, and when I went, we want clarification, because when I went, it sounded like you could use sensors to turn and, you know, have it autonomous. And when
Yeah.
she said that they have to be able to recognize colors along the way.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I just printed that map that you've got right there, and she said, no, we have to have the colors. And so I just want some clarification on what the mission
Sure.
is.
No, that's good. So there's it's a little bit scaffolded. The base objective for the challenge is to use the distance sensor in particular to navigate the tunnel autonomously. Because we're nerds and we can't stop and we want to connect this more to NASA, we wanted to add another challenge. And again, if your team, if that's challenging enough for them, just have them do that and stop there. But if some of these teams have been doing this for several years, so that might not be that hard. So we did give options for either printing out this map, which is now way too big, which has colors, or we're providing in the lesson squares that you can print on just regular paper that are the same size, 20 centimeters by 20 centimeters. And so I didn't include a picture of this, but imagine that this course has that map on the bottom of it. And so as the robot is traveling through, it's not just navigating the course, but it has a downward facing color sensor. And it is Bluetoothing the colors that it senses back to the student's computer. So let's see if I can go back here relatively smoothly. It's a passive measurement. So imagine you're a robot on the moon. Like, it doesn't have to make any decisions based on the color it senses. It's just detecting the color and telling the computer what color it's detecting. I did put a video about how to do this as one of the resources right here. And I think it's kind of a cool feature that you can add to the Lego Spike software, that you can actually have it, you have to go in and add extensions, but you can have it plot the RGB values measured by the color sensor. So it's an opportunity to teach about plotting, data tables, color mixing. So it's just an enhancement. Does that help? But not a requirement.
Yeah, so I've never done it myself, and I'm kind of like, okay, so how do I get it to report back these colors? So it's all new
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah, so don't worry. I mean, if it's new to you, it's probably new to almost everybody again, because it's an extension. It's not like an obvious thing that's a feature, but that's what that video is all about. So watch the video and it should hopefully step by step take you through it. Okay. What other questions do you guys have? We are on the question slide.
I've actually been